All right. Here we are. All right, tonight I'm gonna draw some hands and then I'm gonna play around with drawing some Psylocke stuff. Hands. Well, dang, I wish I would have had. Yeah, whatever. Wonder if I open those up then. All right. Anywho, is that what I want to draw with? There we go. All right, a normal line across the page. Page. Rulers on there. Shimmy that down there. And there we go. All right. Hands. Just trying to gesture them or something tonight. Make sure that comes down here. So, yep, something like that. Try to. It's actually there. So, whoa, what in the world do I have going on for my eraser right now? Like that at all. There we go. I want to get that there, but I think soften it up a little bit, and then this hooks into there, and whatever. The one way I keep track of hands is the middle finger is generally the distance of this from the palm, roughly the distance of that. So kind of how I normally try to play it. And then middle finger is always the longest, of course, but the second longest is actually the ring finger. And normally they're all have that. Get rid of the little string there. Anyway, this is all webbed, but it's all good for now. And then I'm just trying to draw something different tonight. The typical. Let's see that to here. Does that, and then the typical shape of the palm, something like that. And then you have the thumb that comes off of it, and little triangles in there, and then draw your fingers off of there. Anywho, so I'll look for how that like, I don't know, some kind of stop sign. Guess you could draw it like that too. Stop sign shape. Anyway, I'm looking at how that kind of works. And then fingers, depending on how far you are away from them, you can draw them in two parts. So they kind of show up that way at a distance. And then what I mean by two parts, like they feel like that when you're looking at them at a distance, even though they have the other knuckle here, but it's kind of rare to actually see it that way unless, you know, you're grabbing a gun or something. Just be able to draw a fairly decent hand. Kind of gives a character a little bit more expression. I don't know why I'm getting rid of that. Anyway, yeah, that was a made up one. And back to this one. So like right here we have the actual like and if we get the silhouette right, we can kind of play with how those are working. Let's see, that's just the shadow, so make sure I do that. And then this one, actually finally see the knuckle on the thumb on this one. Knuckle on the thumb normally lines up. You kind of relate it to that. So this angle, and then the actual first knuckle though, kind of lines up, especially if you close your hand. And then sometimes I make that a little bit too much, so. Somehow doesn't look good when it's just attached completely heavily to the like abruptly just wrist string on this one. So if you do anything you can do to kind of separate that out, trying to find a way to, maybe that's how. Maybe you don't need the other side. Yeah, I do. And this is why I do this. I don't know what that's doing down below, but anyway, kind of cool. Ooh. Let's got that. This is a tricky one. Bring this way. That way. I'm not trying to get all crazy with this stuff. But that did give me a way to kind of blend those things, and then we have the hands going back in space. So we have. Let's see if I draw this here. This is kind of doing that. So now I can fit all of them, but we have a silhouette shape here. And that sort of thing. And we have this guy. So we can do that. Interesting. And shape. And I don't like that fish just because he's trapping his knuckle. It looks weird. Alright, so spirit of speeding things up a bit. The purpose of this was I wanted to draw faster, and at least for the evening. I also like to see if I am missing anything. I like to see stuff like that where I can, where can I flow it into the hand a little bit. Alright, yeah, and then this needs to be a little bit more. Put that meat in there. It's pretty fun to draw though. They're super intimidating when you first start out drawing, but I think the way I first started drawing hands was just drawing like mittens. Like Donald Duck mittens. The first time I kind of felt comfortable drawing hands. It's like you're not really drawing a hand. Yeah, sure, I guess, but in another sense, you know, you kind of are drawing the mittens. Kind of works, but cool. And they always have some kind of cool flow to them. That's cool. And yeah, so there's like this. So you look at your hand when where then you have your knuckles or whatever, and they're generally in that configuration. So when you have those and they're coming back to, you know, if your thumb's something like here, there's a shape here where all these bones, they kind of, I remember, I have to look at it again, but I think I used to draw them something like most of the bones in your hand have this, like your finger bones, and then they have another one. It's like a block at one end, and then a spool at the other. So you kind of do that, and then spools, and then the last bone has the block, but then it like does this kind of like a wicked shape. So it does something like that. Anyway, when they those are the first joints, but these ones in here they have that same shape, but they hook on these like your I don't know carpal bones or metacarpal. I don't know. They're in there. They're like a big clump of I forget how many bones, like 10 or 12 or something. I don't know. Let's look it up real quick so I'm not telling you something wrong. Hand bones. All right, yeah. So there are these ones here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now there's 8. I thought there were 8. Should have said that. Let's see these things: a block and then a spool sort of thing. Anyway, that shape right there on the back of the hand leaves this little lump that you can kind of like capitalize on. So you can kind of, if you envision this dome shape right here, you can kind of flow the hand this part of the hand and kind of taper into it or whatnot. And it feels pretty good doing that. And because of the, this shape on the end of the bone, on the bone shape, your skin still follows it. So whenever you're drawing your thumbs or your tip of your finger, if you ever have to draw them up close, you can do that. And it feels pretty nice. And do stuff like that. You can't forget this is like the pad there, but and then just repeat it for another finger. And then maybe your thumbs here. I don't know. Who knows? Better hands have been drawn. And yep. I will get rid of these because they are UGLY ugly. Oh, that was old. That was I just dated myself right there. I don't know. I kind of want to check out some other, another page of hand here. Anybody have them like? I don't know why it's so hard to find good hand poses. Those are crazy. These are the ones I like trying to figure out. The ones that are in space real bad. What the crap? My fingers are all broken. That's not cool. That's kind of neat. Ooh, what do we have here? Tiny open. Tell me this. Get bigger. It doesn't. Ah, I can wing it maybe. Mm. So those two fingers are trapped together. And this one comes off, and it's really rare for the pinky to look like it's longer than the other fingers, but yeah, this one does that because retain that shape there. What is this shape doing? It's doing like that goes there, this goes here, this goes this way, this way. Yeah, it's doing that sort of thing. These are the ones that are really worth their weight in salt, I feel like. So then you're actually learning something. Wow, I drew that way too crazy. That goes there. And there. Hard to draw. There. I think this is kind of like where can I? There we go. Something like that. Ah, God, that's not the best hand I've ever drawn for sure, but I feel like there we go. This is what I was looking for. We used to have a teacher that he always would say, "Oh, sign the big shapes," and he wasn't wrong. Man, that's tough. Let's kind of do that. This one's coming out. This way. Yeah, this is where I'll start making some mistakes for sure. Wow, that's crazy. And then this one cutting down here and then here. And then this one comes off over here. So you have to find a way to connect them all. Kind of how that is. I think hands are pretty important to get right. I don't know what is going on with this person's wrists over there somehow. do that though, because it feels better with how I drew it. Something like that, and then at any rate, something like that. It's stressful to draw this stuff. Spider-Man. What is going on with whoever's fingers these are? They're nuts, though. Yeah, this sort of thing. I think this is the last one I'll do, and then I'll move on to some, what you call it? Whole thing I started out to do. What's her name? Some Psylocke stuff. Something like that. Something along those lines. Who knows? That's crazy. Anyway, all right. I got a page of hands there. Now let's do fun stuff. Let's do fun stuff. So, yeah. Psylocke. Cool. Let's do save as and Psylocke. Ref. I always try to put a number down. Yeah, I like old Psylocke. It's pretty cool. Where did I save it? Oh, open recent. Desktop characters. Oh. Is that right? Let's see here. Do I have all the PureRef files? Oh, that's strange. Open recent. Oh. Darn. All right. No. That's kind of a bummer. Don't know what I did with. You know. I do know. I do know what I do with this. Doy. Open up another one of these in another window. And magic ref anatomy ref. No. Nope. Maybe this was it. Just looking for some kind of poses to play with. Yep. So find a good pencil to draw with here. Ooh, what was I drawing with the other day? I don't remember. Pen, pineapple pen. I think I was. Might have been that. Probably not, though. That's a little... I don't remember that being it. Turnip pin? What the? Normally don't have the things going that thin. Not sure why that's doing that. That feels better. Not sure I want to draw with that though. It's the one I normally draw with. It is, but it's not. That's cool. That's cool. Drawing 3. What does that do? That's kind of cool. Maybe I'll use that one. Maybe I'll use that one today. Dude, definitely not that. Feels cool. Alright. Well, I think I've been doing this to get thick. Just to get some rough poses in, so let's do that. Just have some fun drawing. Let's close that. I don't need that anymore. So I've got a few ways. I've just got a bunch of stuffs in here that I was like, oh, that could be cool. That could be cool. Dang on it. I like that one a lot. Not many people put a lot of clothes on Psylocke. I was kind of hoping to. She was always one of my favorite characters when I was young. But that's when she looked more like that right there. So she had a hood on, and then I found these, I don't know. Yeah, these outfits like this, where there's a hood, or that could be kind of cool for her. But figure out, stick to the kind of one you see everywhere right now. Yeah, just for the time being. Just looking for something I can latch on to kind of get some poses going. And I don't show a lot of those because a lot of them are not appropriate for the YouTubes. However, I use this tool as well as a pure rough. This is pretty good. This is from an art station. You can look that up. Just gesture drawing tool, I think art station, and you'll run into it somewhere. Let's see here. Select a folder. Yeah. How about all that? Maybe that could be cool. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That could be cool. All right. Or they can be completely insane. Sometimes they find some weird models and they do some weird poses. Sometimes they find some great models and do some great poses. But things can get pretty weird sometimes. I'm on now. A big part of the problem is I've got so many reference folders for all this stuff that Hmm. Yeah. Anyway, I've got so many pictures a lot of times. It's hard to find some good ones. I don't need telekinetic. I always want to do telekinetic stuff. You don't need to do that. Not everybody floats. Well, of course, I guess Psylocke is telekinetic, but I don't see her floating a whole lot. Nope. Stuff like that's not too bad, I suppose. Yeah, I was gonna do like a demonstration on drawing heads or something, and I just haven't done it yet. The thing I like about references, it gives a lot of information about what muscles are doing. Like I can kind of draw stuff too. I can draw a pretty good figure from my head, but um, sometimes, most of the time, if I'm being honest, they are lacking something, and normally that something can be found with reference. And it could be something subtle that's maybe in maybe in the hand pose, maybe in how a muscle looks, maybe in how the hips tilt, stuff like that. So it's nice to kind of keep an eye out for that sort of thing. Is the back arm showing? It is, but in the reference, I'm not going to show it, but it's showing, but barely. It's like doing this sort of thing. It's back there, we're all tiny. If I can get something that matches that width a little better, and then yeah. So, but the way I could do this is put another hand back there, and then now now it's back there. Somewhat believable, but seeing how even animating, like I'll get an idea when I'm doing an animation, and I'll rough out what I think it should do, and then I'll actually go out and shoot the reference. And sometimes that's a better way to do it. I see the Psylocke. She has a lot of people drawing her with like crazy hair, but for me it was all very, very ribbony. And maybe she normally has at least one sword. And it's normally some kind of like and I think maybe the backhand would have to be always on it. Maybe got something going on like that, and then so another thing I like to look at in reference is like how are they doing? How are the legs situated in space? I guess another one you can't really get. Like you can get close when you're doing it by from memory, but I feel like it does subtle things. Legs do subtle things. Everything does subtle things, but I think they, how much are they coming? Like how much are they coming forward? How much are they showing sideways? Are they going the other way from each other? Stuff like that. Um, so I like seeing what's going on like that in photos, and then the other part too is like when the torso starts doing foreshortening stuff. Seeing what's going on with that too. How long the neck is, like how much of a shoulder is poking out, or like how far down is it from the. What is her hair normally? People draw her with bangs and pulled back. I kind of like it pulled back. I'm really looking forward to drawing Storm at some point because I like the mohawk. Storm has the cool like mohawk. I always like that. She always has some kind of cool jacket on or something. Yeah, I'm looking forward to drawing some Storm stuff. Gotta draw it now. Put that in the back pocket. You can go over here, Storm. Hang out in the corner. Let's see how long. This is one of those ones where torso is going back in space. So man, yeah, there we go. That's feeling a bit better. And I think the center line needs to be facing that way. Like that. I don't know. I think, I think one thing that happens is when we learn things in school, they teach us to draw certain things with a lot of what do you call it, preconceptions or whatever. So like if the hips drop this way, you always pull it that, you pull the shoulders this way, contrapposto or whatever, right? But sometimes that doesn't always fit the bill. It does most of the time, but there's times where it doesn't. And so it's nice having the reference to let you know, like, and then like I said, it's kind of the freeing part is that you draw it without the reference first, and then see, go back and look for some reference that matches what you're doing. Feel like it has the foot turned on its side or something like that. That's cool. That's always really good to know. Draw this. Swords back here. Those lines, maybe. Let's see. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe not. Shucks. It's funny, you can also tell when models are comfortable with the subject matter or if they're like self-conscious. Trying to think of like, sometimes I look up videos too to see if there's poses I can grab, like gymnasts or something, or yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe something. Maybe something like looking down more. Let's see, something like that. And that's why I also like drawing with a fat pen. Sometimes you can do some cool, doing something like that. And I see this is the stuff that's not really in any kind of reference, but that none of these are super extreme at the moment, but I'll find something eventually that I like. That was kind of close. Work. And something like that. Perhaps. No, it couldn't be like that. I really have to let's shift this. This was put the other hand like this. Here. And then this hand. Oh, well, that work? Yeah, that'll work. Have the sword built right there, and then that. And let's kill this. I don't really need that anymore, but yeah, that's all I really need for that. Kind of cool. Now we're getting somewhere. It feels like. Yeah, I don't know what the hair would do, but it's kind of cool feeling. Kind of wonder if there's a way to do that. Uh, Something like that. This is where I'm starting to make stuff up, trying to figure things out. Draw that. How could she be wrong? Holding the sword here. So maybe. Can't be here. Oh yeah. That sort of thing, maybe. And maybe on this side, on this side, this. What's happening? Maybe on this side you have that sort of thing where the hands pull thing. Yeah. Maybe. Feel better. That side there. A little too big on that side there. Feels kind of cool. All right. Things get better as they go on throughout the night. That first little warm up part is always the toughest, though. I've got 6 drawings. I at least want to have. I need to move that. That's controlling. Let's get rid of that. Turn that to the bottom. And go back. All right. Let's see, what else can we do? It's kind of cool idea. Let's see here. Maybe hold the sword like that. And then this arm. Yeah, something like that. Or maybe it's like this. Maybe it's like that. Really what to do there. I'm gonna be looking down on the character. Like a little longer. It doesn't feel like you're looking down, does it? Do that way. Maybe something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And put that in a little bit more, feel more like her. And but, then what else can you do? Wish I have some kind of like cool jumping poses or something. Hmm. Maybe work something along those lines. Let's see. Do this. And maybe something along. This has to be doing something. Need that overlap for sure. And just to make sure, it feels like that is overlapping there. My higher angle stuff. I don't know. Nah, not that. Yeah, this is where maybe that. I don't know why I'm not using that actually. I think there's a pose reference book that actually has mostly sword stuff. However, what in the world, people? Find me something where you lower the angle. Be kind of cool. I don't know. Just draw that. This is one of those rare cases where I found one where the actual hips are dipping the same way the shoulders are, because she's raising her arm up. Cool. And I want to move this drawing so bad. Like it there, but I also want to move it just to kind of give myself some room. And that might work. I'll take liberties. And then we'll put the sword this way. And maybe she's holding it. Definitely see that. So yeah, that's kind of cool. I have some poses to work with now. And then I was going to make up some poses too, just completely from scratch. I really like them to be from the more looking up at her. there, and then draw through. She has some kind of boot on, I guess. I don't know. Haven't figured that part out yet. For me. Can I fit that in there? Not much headroom on those top drawings there. Gonna do it. It's through there. I had a friend that worked in storyboards at Blizzard. His name was Mio. M-I-O. Yeah, he was amazing. But I liked how he drew. He drew very chunky stuff underneath and then went back and cleaned stuff up later, but he had the most dynamic stuff because he wasn't worried about the he wasn't worried about the drawing. That's not the right way to put it. He wasn't worried about the details. For sure. He was only worried about like the perspective and the main shapes. And I always liked that part of things from him. And how he drew. I don't know. Like, what do you do with the hand in this case? What do you do with the other arm? Shoot. I made something up and now she's armless. You can do the whole hold her hand up thing. I mean, she is. But I'm gonna have to change that slide there. Feels better. What is she standing on? I don't know. Maybe a sentinel eyeball. Maybe a sentinel finger. Sentinel hand. Could be. Since we're drawing hands. That wouldn't be big enough to be a sentinel hand, but it's the thought that counts. I suppose. Anyway, I got some decent drawings in for things to try for Psylocke tomorrow. I'm going to continue this. It's pretty fun. Yeah, I like where this is going, so I'm going to continue on that kick. I think like 2 nights to kind of explore. It's not too bad. I keep thinking I want to do like I really like this idea for her, like just come up with another pose or something. Give her too much of a get an idea of where I'm going. Sometimes I just can't stop drawing at night when I know I should. Maybe that's that's way too big. I did not stick to that, but kind of the idea was I don't like this drawing at all, actually. Bye bye. Start again. Figure something better out. So now I don't have any reference for this stuff. I'm just trying to come up with something that would work. As far as just want to try putting an outfit on her before the night's up. Set her up a little bit. Let's see, make sure we have the wig in there. And the cool thing about putting them in some kind of pose is oh man, maybe this would have been better if the sword was going this way. You can see if the clothes are going to work with the type of pose. Make sure that plateau's there. That's kind of cool. So now I can actually, let's see what happens in the foot. What I like to do, what a lot of people like to do, I think, shrink it down just a little bit. There, B, and then duplicate it a few times. Let's see what it looks like with different Control E, that should all be merged there. Yeah, okay. So let's do that. Let's turn that down just a little bit and darken this. I wonder if this is one on different pen could come in really handy. Let's see how that feels. I don't know. This is kind of cool. Do that kind of treatment. Maybe I make the coat a little bit shorter. And then maybe you have put that kind of, I don't know, put that kind of shirt on her. Have it tucked in. The idea of her having, she still has her thin kind of arms. And then maybe just see the coat bunch up a little bit there at the end. I don't know if I put that. I don't know. Put that kind of a some kind of suit underneath it. I feel like. That maybe, and then maybe she's got one of those racing suits on underneath. And it just stops when it gets here. See that, and then maybe we can put these kinds of pants on her here. What would that look like? They need to be something like that. Like how angular they get down here. Can I do that? I don't know about the suspenders part. It's kind of weird, but like the idea of there being some kind of like that there, and then there's like the X emblem in there. Maybe, I don't know. I can make the X emblem across her. Does it come in here? Maybe? And then that way, does that look like an X? If I do that, not really. It would have to be more. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you don't put that up there anywhere. Like the idea of that. Maybe the X is up here. Put some kind of. There's just some kind of simple square that's there. And that's it. Maybe that's all you need for that. Could be. You do for the shoes, I don't know. Kind of like the sneakers, but I don't think she would wear sneakers. I think she would wear more like some Bruce Lee. Kung Fu shoes would be more comfortable for kicking ass in. I don't know. Something like that, perhaps. Meaner. Then there's the other way where I can do short coat that actually is attached completely. That, and then does that sort of thing. Too much. You need to go all the way down to here. Good. Right here. Kind of comes off. And does that work? Maybe. Oh, cool. And then stripe thing, and then that. But let's give her like a plug suit from here. Use some Evangelion stuff. That'd be kind of cool. And then, I don't know, not working, is it? Better. And what would you do for the, I think, for her gloves? What does she have? She's got to have some kind of cool gloves. All the 80s stuff. I like what they did here. A little too cyber ninja. Maybe something like that. Be okay. Where goes from bare arm to glove there. paneled. Anyway, maybe not that would be bare or anything, but I think it'd be cool to like connect these maybe, and then have this offset that a little bit. And maybe instead of this, use the X force. Kind of thing. Make that white. Which was kind of cool. And then we don't need that, so actually I can do that. Let's do the plug suit thing. Let's give her this. Do want some kind of like mini boot situation going on. Feels more pointy, but getting there. Kind of like it fitting tighter on her. Do that. Some kind of cool way to panel that. Over here like that. Maybe in here. There we go. Something like that. And then I like the idea of having the kind of X-Men emblem here. Maybe it's a perfect circle. Okay, there we go. A little better. That's kind of cool. What other ideas do we have here? What time is this? 2 o'clock. Shoot. That's not good. Thought that was kind of cool. They put the jacket on her. Always do these gratuitous butt shots and stuff. Like, man, they haven't grown up from that at all. She's got a heart on her butt. I don't think that's a good idea for no Psylocke here, but that's super cool. I don't know. They figured that out. That's pretty neat. That would hurt my brain trying to figure that out. How to draw it all the time, but it's super cool. That's kind of neat too. You'll even bag it. Ah, there we go. That's super neat. I think that's almost like it has the X. How big the baggy pants part. Yeah, one thing that I could put on her, but I haven't yet. Keep her sash. Nah. Not on that one. Make sure that I got that thing. Doing the right thing. Yeah, going tight up top again. That's kind of cool. Yeah, that's all right. How would you design that? I think I gotta get rid of that little cuff. Let's see. She's got that. The X is gonna be made. Maybe you come over here. Let's start with that. And then like that. That's cool. I follow this. I wonder if you could follow. We just do it simple like that. And then have this one actually do something like that. And then you want that. side. That. Oh, see, I hurt my brain. Yeah. That way. And then from there on, it would be paneled like that. So basically, just be paneled. Kind of cool though. And then you gotta figure something out for this. It almost works. Come on. That would have to go. Maybe that. Too much. Oh, is it? I don't know. Kind of cool. It could be kind of cool. Maybe that continues to the back. And maybe I was just gonna have a with this. I should have a belt on right here. So I wonder if you attach that. No, I don't want to do that, but I would like to do something where it goes. Let me just do that. And then we have the belt here. And the pants be big again. Maybe not as big as last time, but more rectangular. These things hang down. I like that idea, it's kind of cool. And then maybe there's just a hint of a cuff at the bottom. And then maybe this is where stash could be the old school setting. The thing that I always wanted to get back to was her had that cool like I don't know, kind of they're almost like the Wolverine hair, but they were like they look like butterfly wings or something. And it looked like the psionic energy or whatever. She had that. It was kind of cool. Maybe put some. Again, I like the idea of keeping this. I don't like the idea of giving her any kind of big shoes or anything. A little bit better, I think, on her. And then, man, what would you do for that? I need to fill that in a little bit. Lose my color. So what could I do? I could take the opacity. That works. And then let's see how this works. Just filling it in a little bit. Is this something that could be pulled off? Would you have to be like, seems like it'd be really hard to juggle that if you're trying to draw it multiple times, like for animation or something. It'd be a little difficult side for sure. Oh, I see what I did here. Shoot, yeah. I didn't resolve that. Shucks. What would you do with that? Color it all then. Which isn't horrible. And then, damn, I have to do that side too. Something like that though. There you go. Completely horrible, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Howdy do. Opacity. This sort of thing. She just needs something else. Maybe she has a double sash since the belts. Maybe the belts are the way to go. Just have those hanging off everywhere. That could be a thing. Belts just hanging off. Maybe they have belt buckle on. She's got the. Could be possible to put the pendant in there. Put the X in there. Old school style. Happen up here, I don't know. It's something. It's something. I don't know. Moving on. This is a super cool one too. It'd be completely different. Give her like a giant coat, but I do like the idea. Yeah, I love that. Draw that on her to make it look cool. kind of scarf is super cool. She's cold, I don't know. Does it have an actual, really? I like the idea of having a big thick coat on her. Let's see, can I draw that to be? A little bit more poofier. She has it. Pretty big. Like putting some kind of like bottom to it just to know that it's there. Except for I think if I do that, I need to make sure when it gets down here, it's got a nice little. Everything's got to be kind of rounded. And maybe. Oops. Let's see that. Open up. And have some kind of baggy clothes on under there. And then felt like that. And just give a subtle hint of an X-Men symbol. Or maybe do like the idea of like if it's loose up top, being it's loose on top, being what you call it? I can't think. If it's loose on top, being, or if it's baggy on top, being loose or tight on the bottom. Just have the whole thing go. Maybe feel real sweatery or something. Nice pockets on there. Oh, that's kind of cool though. I don't like the idea of tennis shoes on her at all. Yet again. However, look at those. More tennis shoes. That's actually super cool right there. See some Doc Martens there. I don't know, maybe. Kind of works. Maybe they just need to be a little lower. This kind of works. Those are kind of fun. Something completely different for her. And maybe on the sword on these we can have like whatever. Sword. Yeah. Something like that, perhaps. Make some interesting shape there instead. That's kind of fun. Definitely put some kind of like racing stripe. I like the racing stripe on the side for her for some reason. Just feels right. Yeah. Those are all kind of fun. Anywho, I think that's gonna do it for the day. It wasn't a bad little night of drawing. Something kind of fun. I feel better now that I put some outfits on her. I'll have to do some more of that tomorrow. That's super fun. Let's see if I can do a piece with one of these that kind of feels cool. I don't know. Kind of leaning towards that one, or I don't know. I like these three right here. I like those. They're kind of cool. All right. Well, till tomorrow. I'll be back. Gotta get some sleep tonight. And yeah, whoever's watching, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.